Chapter 1. I Thought Love Meant Sacrifice. Hello, my name is Vitali. I've never written posts like this before, but maybe my story can help someone out there. Perhaps someone will see themselves in it and make an important decision, or simply understand that they are not alone. This is the raw, unvarnished tale of one man who once believed that love meant sacrifice. I was 25 when I met her, Alice. She wasn't the typical dream girl, but rather a woman whose confidence and allure completely took over my world. While my peers spent their time enjoying carefree moments, I was building my future. I invested my sweat, time, and heart into creating my tech startup. I believed I was making the ultimate sacrifice by allowing her to live the life she deserved, a life of travel, luxury, and unforgettable experiences. Instead of compromising my dreams, I poured every resource I had into us. I built companies and dedicated all my savings to her lifestyle, all the while thinking that love meant shouldering all the responsibilities for the other person. For 10 long years, I carried this life on my shoulders, transferring my savings to her, purchasing apartments in her name for our future, and even redrafting our assets. Everyone said, "Open your eyes, you fool." But I wouldn't listen. I was utterly in love, blindly believing in a future that was built together. Chapter 2. The day I learned the truth, everything crumbled. Sometimes life doesn't break you all at once. It happens slowly, silently, like a crack forming in the foundation of your home. You don't notice it at first, you just feel an inexplicable chill. Then one day, the roof collapses on you. I remember that day vividly. It was an ordinary evening. Alice returned from what she called a girls' trip in Barcelona, and I picked her up from the airport, ordered her favorite meal, and set a bottle of wine on the table. She gave me a quick peck on the cheek and murmured that she was tired before disappearing into the shower. I, without any suspicion, picked up her phone to transfer some travel photos, just a casual act of trust, never expecting to uncover anything. There was no password, never had been. I had always prided myself on the trust between us, and then as I scrolled through her gallery, I found a photo. An unexpected one. It was taken in a bed that wasn't ours. A man's shirt was visible in the background, and details in the room were unmistakably not hers. And that look in her eyes, one I had always associated with our intimate moments, betrayed an entirely different truth. I froze. My heart skipped a beat, and my mind raced for explanations. Maybe it's just a friend using her account? But it wasn't. I started diving deeper into her messages, and then the truth poured out. One chat after another, screenshots, videos, and text messages revealed that she had been meeting different men, consistently, almost twice a month for the last 5 years. It was as if my world was being defiled by a constant flood of betrayal. I sat with that phone in hand while she sipped her wine in the next room, oblivious. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. It was as if everything I had built was burning right before my eyes. I didn't scream or explode. I just stood up, walked outside into the cool night, my mind echoing the same question: why? That night, I couldn't sleep. And when she finally woke up and I told her, "I know everything," she simply responded, "So what? It's all your fault." You were never there. I was simply living. She called it freedom. Freedom. And that was the final blow. I filed for divorce 2 days later. Then the real storm began. Alice wasn't just leaving. She was determined to take everything away from me. With top-notch lawyers, media contacts, and influential friends, she painted me as the abusive, unfeeling husband. She filed lawsuits over our business, our property, even demanding compensation for a life wasted. And the irony, she had furnished that golden cage with my own money. My team fell apart. Some employees left, unwilling to be mired in a scandal. Partners started withdrawing deals, and my brand took a beating. But despite everything, I held on. Inside, though, all I felt was ash. I realized that nobody was coming to save me. If I wanted to survive, I had to rebuild myself piece by piece. Chapter 3. I rose from the ashes. Divorce isn't just a signature on paper, it's an amputation. A cold, sharp removal without anesthesia. I wasn't just losing a wife, I was losing a whole part of my life. My identity shattered along with my dreams of what our life together could be. I sat in the empty apartment, one I had once proudly gifted her on our 7th anniversary. The space was void. An empty kitchen, half-packed boxes, the lingering scent of someone else's perfume on the pillows. In that desolate moment, I felt like I had lost everything. my love, my strength, my life. Then, at rock bottom, something inside me clicked. If I elevated her to the heights, I can also lift myself up. The first thing I did was escape into silence, a full month off, completely unplugged. I turned off everything: social media, messaging apps, even work chats. I left behind the city for a small cabin by a lake in Karelia, armed only with paper and a pen. I wrote every day, pouring my thoughts and feelings onto the page. I began to truly listen to my inner voice, not the one that demanded "you must," but the one quietly asking, "Who are you when you owe nothing to anyone?" It was terrifying because I didn't know the answer. Slowly, I started to rise. I returned to the city a changed man. I discarded every physical reminder of her, even down to the cup we bought on a trip to Paris. Every little relic was poison, and I needed to cleanse my life from that venom. Then came work. I rebuilt my team, keeping only those who believed in me rather than the glossy illusion. I held countless meetings and restructured the company, making sure that every asset was locked in a trust, set up before our union so that she couldn't tear the business apart. Legally, she ended up with next to nothing. Yet, I voluntarily let her have a small part, simply to close that chapter once and for all. And you know the most astonishing part? When I stopped earning solely to please someone else, I began earning even more for myself. I transformed from a savior into a leader. I purged the toxicity from my life and, in its place, discovered boundless energy. I learned to live again, not merely survive, but truly live. I reintroduced exercise, savored food that had real taste, engaged in genuine conversations, read novels instead of only business books, and rediscovered the beauty of sunsets. I began to like myself again. And then I met Eva. Chapter 4. Now I truly live. After all the bitterness and countless lonely nights, I had sworn off relationships. I thought I was done with love. The pain was too raw, too deep to invite someone else in. I focused on building a life that resonated with me, growing my business, enjoying solitary moments, and learning to be whole on my own. Then, unexpectedly, Eva entered my life. We met at a charity event. I was there on a whim, supporting a friend's cause. Eva didn't fit the mold of someone trying to rescue me or demand sacrifices. She was genuine, thoughtful, and confident in a quiet way. Our connection was based on honesty and respect from the very beginning. There were no grand declarations, just genuine gestures and long conversations that stretched into the early hours of the morning. We didn't rush into romance. At first, there were leisurely meetings over tea, peaceful walks, and conversations filled with shared memories and mutual understanding. When I eventually told her about Alice, she didn't gasp or pity me. She simply nodded and said, "Pain is part of growth, but it shouldn't define who you are." That simple statement echoed within me. 6 months later, we began living together, not out of obligation, but because it felt natural. Mornings brought shared breakfasts, yes, even her peculiar choice of porridge that I learned to appreciate. There were gentle reminders of her quirks, neat to-do lists on the fridge, the soft habit of turning off the lights when it was still bright outside. There was no cinematic passion. Instead, there was a deep, steady companionship. With Eva, I finally learned that true love isn't about sacrificing pieces of yourself. It's about growing together. In our relationship, neither of us had to play the savior or carry burdens alone. We were simply two people in sync, finding comfort in the authenticity of our bond. Together, we bought a small house by the lake, a cozy home with an old pear tree in the yard. Weekends are now filled with visits from friends, shared meals, and an undeniable sense of peace. We haven't started a family yet, maybe someday, maybe not, but I now know I'm complete. I have rebuilt a life that honors who I truly am. So, if you're reading this and finding yourself at rock bottom, remember, this isn't the end. You will endure the pain, and one day you'll wake up and finally feel the weight lifting off your shoulders. You'll see the light outside your window and know that you are alive, truly alive.